intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Hey StarCraft League of Men fans, today we're going to take a look and have a discussion about the APAC playtest for the new arena feature. Now, if you missed that, well, it happened in the wee hours of the morning if you're in the US, or kind of in a decent time if you are over in the European. But the APAC servers got to be the first test bed for this, and there's even a feedback channel on the official Discord with lots of good information. And so I spent the last several hours since I woke up watching multiple streams. You'll see some of those in this video with some of the content, as well as reviewing a lot of what people had to say when it came to things like the matchmaking, which I'll give my opinion on that in this video. But without further ado, why don't we go ahead and get started? So overall, look, I've already said it. I am really excited about the matchmaking, the arena. This is something I feel like the game has needed for quite some time. And the process for getting started, I wouldn't call too difficult, but as you can expect, a little bit of things that need to get adjusted. This is StarQuip in the background. If you've never heard of StarQuip, they're pretty cool. I like StarQuip, but here they are going through some of the basic starters so you can see it. Joining an arena, going through the various mechanics and everything. So what you're going to see in some of the background videos is how the process works. But I'm also going to give you my thoughts having talked to people. And then also, I find it very important to have videos like this that provide feedback. That way, when they do beta test, essentially that's what this is, a play test, beta test, we can give appropriate feedback afterwards. And that's what I plan to do with this video, is to give some of that appropriate feedback. Now, let's start with the basics of it as we got this running in the background. The basics of joining an arena are pretty simple. You have somebody create one and everybody needs to join. Then you get into the matchmaking portion of this. And early on, I think that's fine. Now we'll go ahead and give my early thoughts on matchmaking. Point number one, which by the way, some of this you see in the background, I wanted to include lag was an issue for some of the players, but we'll cover that in a different segment. But as far as matchmaking, because I know a lot of people worry about that, I'll throw up examples of matchmaking on the screen, etc. There's 2 points with matchmaking I really want to highlight early on. Number one, keep in mind that with this, everybody's starting at rank 0. So if you've never played a MMO or any type of multiplayer online game that runs a PvP system, there is a ranking system, and generally league, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, etc. So you had to be able to work through those. And this arena test did try to find a balance of player level with matchmaking, but it's not perfect. The more of them that got ran, I think the more data we got to see of it moving in a positive direction. You can see StarQuip is a higher level group. And one thing the higher level groups noticed, and you saw this in the feedback, was it took them a long time to find an opponent because it wasn't automatically matching them with players in the 40s, which is good, right? That's what a lot of us wanted. Now, were there still some of those matchups? Absolutely. And I'm not going to sit there and tell you that they didn't happen, but it wasn't as prevalent as we might have worried it would be. And as you get more players ranking up, that should be less of an issue, but it is something to keep an eye on to make sure things work out. Now, beyond that, there were some instances of like unfair matchmaking, if you were. And again, you can see some of the lag in this video, but that doesn't make it bad. Overall, I think it was a good experience to earning. Now, as you can see right there, it is going through the matchmaking process, and there was a little bit of a wait time on making matching happen. Like, I hate to word it like that, but that's true. There was a little bit of a wait time. I think that's to be expected, especially for a higher level. What about if you were a slightly lower level? And when I say lower level, I'm not trying to say like, level 40. I'm trying to keep it applicable to what applies here, which my buddy Ultravetica here, I told y'all we're going to show you all a couple different content creators. If you're not familiar with either one of these, Ultravetica streams on Twitch and StarQuip makes videos every now and then on YouTube. So I do try to shout out our other CCs. Shout out to them who are doing some of this content. The Ultra going through doing crewing right now, as you do get free repairs there, but this is the general screen, and what you're going to see the most of, well, that's his chat. There you go. There's the general screen of what you're going to see, and it goes into a method of the following. One, you've got to hit hostiles. How exactly does the hostile hitting work? Well, let me explain. So arena traders give 25 points to launching a solo armada, which you'll see there are solo armadas and group armadas. In fact, I'm going to pause it. Sorry for the awkward moment of me pausing you, Ultravetica. You're a cool dude, but I want to make sure people see it on the screen. You get 24 points for hitting the traders. You can notice one right there. There's a little trader. Then you get cruisers, which is a combat ship, which gives out 100 credits for a full start to a solo armada. one solo armada equals 50 points that you've scored towards heading to the win, whereas the group armada, 300 points. Yay. I'm sorry, 25 points for a solo, 300 for a group. But it's a lot easier to spam the solos, as you can imagine, with the group ones being here in the middle. And then, into all of this, the PvE mechanic you have to score points is essentially defeat hostiles so you can get to the armadas. But then you have to defend those armadas against players as your PvP. So what did that end up looking like in terms of running this? Payouts, everything, I think were pretty solid. If you lose, you got 400 of the credits. If you won, you got 1,000. So even if you didn't manage to win, as you can see this battle going on right here in the background, point scoring at the top right, very similar to the territory scoring that you've been seen before. Overall, I think you got I would argue, balanced type of a scoring system. And what I mean balanced is, let's take a look at my screen. So we just see the cost right here. If you wanted to go to the Terran Arena claim, which is what most people are going to look at, this is what it costs you to turn in, 1,200 for a full pull. So if you were to win, you get 1,000. It means you can immediately do a double chest pull. So I have a couple thoughts on this. Let me give my feedback on what I think it should be and how I think it should be. Number one, when it comes to the scoring here, really don't have a terrible issue with the scoring. There is a 22-hour timer on this box when you turn in, but I do think that the people who are getting defeated, getting 40% is generous. Here's where you run into a little bit of an issue, and we're just gonna run some quick math here together. So if you wanted to get 3 chest pull, you wanna get a full pull, 7 days, right? So you need 7 days worth. That means you need to score 8,400 points. That means that you would need to win 9 matches in a 24-hour period to be able to full pull every day. Now, you could also do that with losses, but I'm thinking about it from a time perspective, because let's just say you did win 9 matches and then you scored 9,000 points, obviously. Okay, how long did that take? Each run of this arena is about 10 minutes, right? But you also have to include the prep, the matchmaking, the waiting times, etc. So winning 9 matches is essentially at least 2-ish hours of work, if you were. So my number one critique here is I'm hoping that as things like this get worked on and ironed out, it's more than just a once a week thing. Keep in mind that this is something that you get to separate from your regular game. So as you're going through this process, while you're waiting for a match, you can do everything in Star Trek Fleet Command as normal. You can go around and do your dailies and, hey, have I done this away team? You can manage all that while you wait to go in. And there's a little icon at the top that'll say, hey, your match is ready, you need to join, etc. You can throw those on the screen so you can see them as reference. And there's also one that says, hey, you're waiting to join a match. So with that in mind, I think that is a fine portion of it, but expecting anybody to sit there for 2 hours just so they can have a week's worth of full pulls is a bit much. So my hope is that it becomes something that is working, stable, and last into a 2 or 3 time a week, or maybe even having it open-ended at some point, allowing players to score so that they don't have to spend all this time one day doing this arena. Because that's not what a lot of people want. I mean, feel free to comment if you agree or disagree, but people don't want to spend all day on that one. But here's some other thoughts. Stability and lag. Overall, after going through hundreds and hundreds of comments and talking to, I think right around a dozen APAC players personally to get their experience, it was pretty similar to territory/waves. What do I mean by that is, some people had it really, really bad, and a couple people had none at all. Everybody tended to find some level of lag here and there. So a concern would be for the larger groups. No offense to the APAC. The APAC servers only make up, I think, 6 servers in total, whereas the US group makes up like 80 servers in total. You do worry about how will that transfer to the larger portions of the Star Trek Fleet Command player base. But overall, I do think that lag is a concern with every piece of the game, not just this. Now, will that deter people from playing it? Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, probably. People want a lag-free, buggy-free experience, and that's completely reasonable to expect as a player and demand as a player. We'll see if that ends up being an improvement, but I think the game is having stability issues just in general the past 2 months. I don't think that's a unique to arena thing. I think that's a game thing they really have to continually work on. They did better this year when they did the Unity update, but that was like 8 months ago now, and it kind of feels like we need to do that again. Not that I'm trying to say I know how to do a dev's job. I'm just saying as a player who wants to enjoy this game, we need it to be bug-free and laggy free. And then as I look at this overall, I think this is a positive addition to the game. It's a way to PvP without having to bother anybody else. What I mean by that is, look, a lot of players talk about that they're PvE players. They don't like PvP. They don't want to participate in PvP, and that's fine. Incursions forces that to happen. I'm not going to deny that. It does. Well, hopefully this is an outlet for people to make grinds, do things on their time that doesn't inconvenience others. And even if you're a PvE player, you're not inconveniencing anybody else. So if that's part of, like, because I know there are a lot of rows that say stuff like that, and if that's how you want to play, this creates a separate instance and environment for that. Now, for the PvEers who just absolutely refuse to do any PvP, will you be missing out on much? Well, we can use this as an example because this is really the favor system that you're wanting. Most of you aren't going to care about the PvP officers, but you probably would care about premium dust. You know, that's more research for everything. There's a lot of favors in here. And if you look, there's even things like making ships easier to get. G5 innovative engineering. Words are so hard today. But increases the cost efficiency of blueprint bundles for grade 5 ships in the FKR faction store, 30% discount. Like that's a lot, especially when you talk about some of these ships having hundreds of blueprints you need. Saving anything is huge. And G4, well, further pushing Rev's paradigm that you should get those G4 epics. And if you got this, oh my goodness, even better. And even for the G3 players, for players who are wanting to rather use this for G3 so they can scrap enterprises, etc., that's a heck of a discount. That's a heck of a discount. So there are a lot of good favors in this faction store now that we can see it. The early thoughts I have on arenas is I think the playtest went overall well, but there's definitely some glaring things that need to be addressed, need to be adjusted. Matchmaking definitely needs tweaking to prevent certain matchups from ever happening. But at the same time, you know, I do think there's a balancing that has to happen there. By the more you do it, the more you run these, the more balanced in theory it should become long term. We'll see if that actually plays out with Scopely, etc. Now, beyond that, hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think if you participated, and if you did participate and you watch this video, what did you think afterwards? Did it make you more convinced this was a good or a bad mechanic? I truly am curious because this is a real branch out for the game. Something I think it's needed for a very, very long time. Because even though, you know, we've had new things, a lot of it's been the same old, same old. I mean, new hostile, hit it. New armada, do it. You know, new mining, sit on a node. Whereas this is a unique system being added in PvP. Yes, there is a little bit of armadas and stuff in it for the scoring metric of it, but it truly is a new feel. And I want to see where it goes. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Live long and plunder. Stay safe, other Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Catch you on the next Star Trek Fleet Command video, and I am out.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.